But just supposing it might be possible for someone to send a missile with an H-bomb over the country. Of what use would it be? Simply to destroy? Because if the Tesla anti-war machine was in use, no one could enter the country. And after we saw the bomb coming, or even after it blew part of us up, we could still, from behind the wall of light, blow the enemy to bits and without the use of a single rocket. Rockets aimed at us would be useless, as would bombs in actuality, because anything would explode when it got within 200 miles of the wall, even if by some fantastic method it could be protected up to that point. So all these speculations really have no practical value, but they do help us to understand that Tesla thought of every possibility and prepared for every eventuality. Although Tesla himself loathed all deadly devices, nevertheless he knew that plenty of other people preferred war to God's peace. So when he designed the anti-war machine, he first worked out in detail all the possible weapons the machine might be called upon to destroy. He designed a jet-propelled airplane and an atomic bomb, the whole device radio-controlled and able to cover a distance of 12,000 miles. And this was long ago. Tesla could easily look 100 years into the future. In a letter which Tesla wrote to me in 1935, he said, speaking of his anti-war machine, "My discovery ends the menace of airplanes, submarines, rockets, or space machines, regardless of their height or speed. A century from now, every nation will render itself immune from attack by my device. I believe, as I believe in God, that the adoption of Tesla's machine will prevent war. Actually, I have been fighting for Tesla since 1928 and have written hundreds of letters, newspapers, and magazine articles about his inventions, so the world should know about this wonderful man." Yes, indeed, the world should know about Tesla. But the hundreds of letters received by Mr. Matthews and by the present author indicate clearly that most people are just finding out how to spell his name. Almost every letter received begins something like this: "I never heard of Nikolai Tesla until I read your excerpts from The Return of the Dove. Where can I find out more about this wonderful man?" Well, no one will find out more about this wonderful man if the Silence Group has its way. Since the day that Tesla was brought to the earth from Venus, he has been plagued by the Silence Group. This is a carefully organized super-secret group within the forces of darkness. It has functioned on this earth down through millions of years, directed by black magicians who were bent upon destroying humanity, rather than permit the race to become merged with the forces of light. During 19 million years, Sanat Kumara and his Heriacs have steadfastly defeated the forces of evil at every turn, and all without doing any damage to the delicately adjusted balance of free will, a balance which is the only spiritual guarantee of human evolution into the light. During the late 30s, the last of the black magicians was caught during a moment when he had let down his guards, and he was removed from the planet. Prior to that time, the forces of light had been catching up with the black magicians one by one and removing them. This was the last character of his kind. Capturing a black magician and all his evil links is not easy, and it is very unlovely. Many disciples prefer not to talk about it, but in these tragic times it seems that the dear public should be able to bear up under some of these startling revelations, wake up to what is going on around them, and become aware of conditions which they are often unwittingly supporting to the hilt. A black magician always operates in an astral body, but he usually has a physical flesh body hidden away in a cave to serve as an anchorage for his contaminated energy. He usually steals this flesh body, for he is too shrewd to incarnate, even if he could find parents, and besides he does not wish to be hampered by a physical body which he must tend and care for. He prefers to employ thousands of human tools who do not know that they are being used for his purposes. He can manipulate them through their little egos without their even suspecting that they are being played for suckers. Some of these human tools at the very top of the heap do know their boss, but they are virtually black adepts in their own right, so secrets are safe with them. It is these wise guys and dolls at the top who form the invisible government, or the silence group, which is still in control today on the physical plane only. Invisible, that is, to all but the Christ forces. Those heads remain very secluded, and, in turn, hand down directives to their stooges, who are active in politics, churchianity, diplomacy, banking and economics, education, and in every line of commerce and industry which is in any sense associated with big business. Today they are especially active in connection with newspapers, magazines, television, and radio, which they control through advertising. Because books do not carry advertising, the dark forces have never been able to control the book field directly. However, they do control it in subtle ways through various book clubs and through newspaper advertising, critics, and bookshop sales. The dark forces are very active in the field of medicine and in connection with drugs, pharmaceutical products, vaccines, and even foods, particularly in foods such as candies, ice cream, bottled drinks, and of course in cigarettes, liquors, and diversions such as movies. But in these commercial fields, their biggest control goes back to advertising. They use the weapon of fear, induced through threats of economic boycott. They are also today very, very active in the utilities field and in all the big industries connected with petroleum, steel, aluminum, and so forth. They are in complete control of all boom and bust cycles, even to spreading the rumor that these are caused by sunspots. The black magicians themselves operate and control their tools from the astral plane. Anyone can be a tool, and all of us have been tools at certain times, even though we may not have spent an entire embodiment working at it professionally, so to speak. After 19 million years of this astral control, the last black magician has been taken, and they will trouble the planet no more. But their tools are still functioning in a big way, totally unaware that the last boss has been liquidated. They are due to discover this soon, sometime after the news gets about that the axis of the earth is completely straightened. Then will the darkened minds of humanity begin to get a glimpse of the light. However, the tools at best are only human, after all, and not always reliable, human nature being what it is. So the black magicians on the astral plane usually had a flesh body stored away somewhere on earth, stored away in a cave somewhere like a hibernating animal. Through this flesh body they could anchor their foul energy firmly in the earth and keep it anchored. The last black magician who was taken had a flesh body hidden away in a cave in Western Europe. The forces of light did not intend to remove him astrally and leave his focus on evil behind. So finally they closed in on his hibernating flesh form, and the angelic legion set to work. They found that this particular black magician had fangs which extended out from the face, and then far beyond that area the fangs continued in astral matter. This astral line carried a tremendous charge of evil force, and these lines cut deep into the earth, right through soil and rocks, and extended for miles around the globe. In other words, this character had a firm grip on the situation. First, the angels had to work from the ends of the astral fangs and draw back into the body itself all the evil force which had been extended through the earth. When all this evil was drawn back into the flesh body, the whole mass was transmuted with violet fire. Then the weary, liberated atoms were carried back to the sun for repolarization. If this seems too fantastic to be true, let us glance briefly at the other side of the picture. In certain parts of the world are to be found deposits of diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and other precious and semi-precious stones. How did they get there? At those points, adepts of the Christ forces once lived. They anchored the energy of light so firmly in the earth in order to spiritualize the soil and raise the vibrations that the ray energy became concretized into lovely gems.